Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Affinity Insight Preview, Microsoft Word Advanced Styles. I'm Senior Consultant Danielle Davis-Rowe. For all of you who joined us for our first preview on styles, welcome back. Everyone else, we're going to have that recording available. If you haven't had a chance to watch it already, you'll get that with the recording of this. So just a heads up there, this is a continuation of some things we covered last month. If you guys have any questions while we're going along, put them in the chat or the Q&A. Karen is on here. She's monitoring all of that. She'll be interrupting me and asking me all of those fantastic questions. So don't hesitate to ask questions as we go along. I always love to start these sessions with a poll. I would love to know what your guys' experience level is with using Microsoft Word styles. While you guys are answering that poll, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my video. That way everyone can see my screen in the screen share a little bit better. I've got some fantastic responses coming in there. I'll leave that open a little bit longer, make sure everyone has time to answer that. In the meantime, while you guys are answering that, I'm going to switch over to our agenda and we'll talk about that next. All right, still got some great responses coming in there. We've got people across the board. All right, fantastic. Well, hopefully we'll be able to answer most of your styles questions today. We do also have a styles session coming up on even more advanced things on June 8th, and I'll give you all the details on that at the end of today's session. Today, we're really going to focus on some of the questions that you guys asked in the last session that we simply didn't have time to answer in those 30 minutes. Styles can be several hours worth of training because there's so much that goes into them. They're such a powerful feature that there's a lot to setting them up. So today we're going to talk about how styles can be based on other styles, what that means, how we do it, and some best practices for that. Also talk about following styles with other styles and what that means and best practices, how to create new styles, because we didn't get to that. We were simply modifying those 247 built-in styles last month, and then controlling which styles appear in the styles pane. So I'm going to switch over to Word, get out of PowerPoint. We'll be back in it at the very end of the presentation to talk about what's next. All right, so I've got a Word document here. And whenever I'm working in styles, I want to do two things. One, I always turn on my formatting marks because styles are all about formatting our documents. The formatting marks are found on the home ribbon in your paragraph group. There's a paragraph mark button here. It's also known as show hide. This is what it looks like off, probably how most of you are used to working. If we turn it on, we can see things like where the end of a paragraph is, where a space is. If I put a tab in here, I can see tabs and things like that. It is so much easier to format your documents if you have your formatting marks turned on because you can see what's going on in the back end. For those of you who used to work in WordPerfect, this is Microsoft Word's version of reveal codes. It works differently, but it helps you see what's going on. Then, working in styles, I have on the home ribbon the styles gallery. Depending on how many add-ins you have to Microsoft Word and how wide your monitor is, you might be able to see fewer than 3 styles, more than 3 styles. It just depends on your exact interface. I have a ton of add-ins over here, so I can only see 3. To work from what's called the styles pane, that lets me see a lot more styles and interact with them, I think a little bit easier. I like the pane much better than the gallery. I want to click on what's called the Styles Launcher. So here in the Styles group, in the bottom right-hand corner is an arrow. This is called a launcher in Microsoft Word. This is how we get into our more advanced settings. Click on that and it opens up the Styles pane. For those of you who were here last time, yours might be docked and might be showing a preview. If not, never fear, yours might look like this. To get it to look the way mine did, which I think is a lot better because it's not floating on top of the text and I can see a preview of what the styles look like, we're going to do two things. First, we're going to dock it. So I'm going to come up to the top of the styles pane where my cursor switches from one of the normal cursors to this 4-directional arrow. When I get there, I'm going to double click. And that pops the stylus pane over to the right. It docks it. It's no longer competing for space with my text. It's never going to be on top of it now. Then, to see what these styles look like, because I don't honestly know what heading 1's going to do right now without hovering over it, I want to check the show preview box down here. And there, hey, I can look. Heading 1 is underlined and centered. Heading 2 is bold and underlined. All of those sort of helpful things. All right. So let's talk about how to base styles on other styles and what that means. So to modify a style, get two options from the styles pane. One, I can right click on it and go to modify, or I can click on the little drop down arrow to the right of it and go to modify. Either way is going to get you in here. And you will see beyond the name of the style, we have style based on drop down. Of the 247 built-in ones, many of them are based on the normal style. The normal style, you want to think of that as our default. If I go into my font launcher here, or right click and go to font, and I go to set as default here, that is going to change my normal style. My best practice for you is to base all styles. So go to modify, right click or that drop down on normal. So that way, if I change my default font for the document, all of my other styles update. You will see you've got all sorts of options here, every single style, including no style. If I were to base it on no style and I were to update my default font for the whole document, the font in this style would not change. I don't think I have ever seen a legal document in these however many years I've been consulting now, quite a few, or back when I was practicing, that used two fonts in the same document, right? Generally speaking, everything's Times New Roman 12. That setting is more for people who are in marketing, right? And they're intentionally using different fonts. You want your document to all have the same font, so you want to base it on normal. Now, I will say that if you are working with a brand new document in Word, you haven't customized any of the styles, and you go to right click on something like heading 2, not heading 1, but heading 2 through 9, and you go to modify, this won't be based on normal. It will be based on heading 1, and heading 2 will be based on heading 3, and so on and so forth. And what that means is if I base heading 2 on heading 1 and I make a change to heading 1, that change will carry over to heading 2. And you might think, well, that sounds like a great idea. I will tell you what, I have played with it a lot. I have thought that was a great idea for many a document. And what happens? Heading 1 no longer needs to be underlined. So I take the underline off of heading 1. So let's base heading 2 on heading 1 here. And I come into heading 1 and I go to modify and I take the underline off of it and I click OK. Heading 2 should have the underline come off. This is an unexpected behavior here. It should be based on that. I get advanced updates to Microsoft Word ahead of all of you to see the new features coming, but as a result, some of the expected behaviors break temporarily. And so this one is broken. It should have underlined it, which you might think might be helpful. But every time I have done that, at least 90% of those times, I end up regretting it because then I go in and I modify heading 2, and then I'm like, oh, well, that's still needed underlined, and I have to go in and I have to change it. It is honestly better for everything to be based on normal so that the default font flows through all of them, and then I can set up every other style on its own. So all of your styles, when you go to set them up, you go to modify them, base them all on normal, and you'll have a lot fewer headaches down the road. And if you didn't catch that as a takeaway from the last one, or you did it from this one of the most important things you can do is set up your normal style for success. So we can do that in our styles pane, which we're going to talk about at the end here, controlling how the styles appear here. How would we get normal there since it's not there right now? If I open up a new document and I go to styles, you'll see I've got a whole bunch of different styles over here, including the normal style that they're all based on. We'll talk about that at the end here after we talk about all the different ways to set up the styles. But getting your normal style as a good backbone is really important, and it's where I always start when setting up my styles. Karen, before I move on to following styles with other styles, do we have any questions about basing styles on other styles?
We do. So there are two. The first one says, is there a way to copy or paste styles, or must they be exported, imported?
Yeah. Are they talking about from one document to another or within a document? Do you know?
I don't. So Buzz, if you want to add to your question, we can maybe better answer your question. One document to another, he says.
Okay, so what you can do, so you're right, there absolutely is an import export, right? If we go into manage styles, we have the import export button. That is one of the easiest ways to do it. What I would recommend for people, short of importing, exporting, is get a document set up with all the styles that you need for that type of document. So whether it's a last will and testament, or a brief, or a motion, or a judgment and decree, or a contract, and then save it as a template. So if I go to file and I go to save as, and I go to browse and I select my file type here, you can save it as a Word template, a DOTX, and then you can use that to base all new documents of that type on it. You can put in boilerplate language, and then you don't have to go hunting for styles in a different document. You've got a good, strong starting point for it. But otherwise, if you've got a document that already exists and you need to get the right styles in it, import export's definitely the way to go.
Great. And so here's a second question. Todd often downloads forms from a website and they seem to have weird, very idiosyncratic formatting. Is there an easy way to just globally replace all of them with a preferred style?
So you could select the entire document. So the keyboard shortcut's Control A if you don't want to drag your mouse through it all, and apply a style from there. So I could easily make this all black text, for example, if I wanted to, or heading 1 or heading 3. What he might want to do is when you download forms from the internet, they've got really great content, but normally they are created by people who do not know what they are doing with Microsoft Word. I've seen a lot of them, and it's really painful looking at what they've done from a formatting perspective. If it's a form that you're going to be using over and over and over again going forward, the best thing you can do is open up a new blank document, copy and paste it without formatting. So copy like you normally would. And then when you go to paste, so let me open up a new document, right click and choose the clipboard with the A, which is keep text only, and then reformat it from there. You're going to end up with a lot fewer formatting glitches if you do it that way. But if it's a form you're only going to use once, it might not be worth the time to do it. But if it's something you're going to use for the vast majority of your matters going forward, you are going to be time and headaches ahead to reformat that all from scratch using all of the fantastic word knowledge you have, and styles will make that so much faster.
And then one more question. Forrest asks, what if you have styles created already and they're based on other styles than normal? Will changing them later to normal create problems?
Yeah, so when we change what a style is based on, so you'll see here heading to what it looks like over here in the styles pane. It's got quite a bit going on. If it adapted a lot of that from heading 1, if I switch that to normal, you'll see it changes some of the settings and it jumps over here. So you'll have to reset up the styles. So if you don't have styles set up already, the first thing you want to do is make sure you base it on normal and then set it up. If you already have them set up, just take some notes, take a screenshot or write it down on a piece of paper in another Word document, how you have it set up so that you can fix that. And that would be a great place to do it in your templates. If you have templates, as opposed to having to change it in every single Word document, just fix it for documents going forward so your life's easier for new ones.
That sounds great. And then last one before we go on, Benjamin says maybe you're going to cover this later, but what is the interplay between styles and custom numbering?
Fantastic. We're actually going to cover that in our next session on June 8th. That gets a session all by itself because it takes a little bit of time to explain how that works. But you want to come back for that one or watch the recording if June 8th doesn't work for you, because we're going to tie custom paragraph numbering to your style so it automatically applies, it automatically restarts when it should, continues when it should, and makes your life so much easier when it comes to paragraph numbering.
Sounds great, Danielle. Thanks. That's it for now.
All right, fantastic. Let's talk about following styles with other styles and what that means. So let me make this all body text first indent. And then I'm going to reformat my statement of facts with heading 1. And I'm going to go modify my heading 1. So I'm going to right click or do that drop down modify. There is this setting here for the style for the following paragraph. And those 247 that are built into Word, some of them have this set up well, others do not. What this means is when I am in heading 1 and I click return, what style is going to be applied to this paragraph? This is applying the normal style. Chances are 90% of the time after heading 1, I don't want normal, because remember, normal is just our defaults. We're going to want either a different heading style or a body text style. So if I right click or do the drop down and go to modify, and I'm like, okay, let's say most of the time heading 1's going to be followed by that body text first indent. I'm going to set that up here. Click OK. When I hit return here, check that out. Body text first indent was automatically applied. This simply makes it easier to work in Word. I don't have to apply a style to every new paragraph if they're not automatically applying the normal style when I hit return. And there is no hard and fast rule about what style should follow another style. It depends on your document. If your heading 1 is followed by a heading 2 the vast majority of the time, well, then come in here to heading 1, modify, and make it heading 2 instead. Then when I click OK and hit return, I now have heading 2 here. And it's okay that it's not 100% of the time, because if this needed to be body text first indent, not a big deal. Click here, apply body text first indent. We just want it to save us as much time as possible, but it won't save us all the time in the world because none of our documents always have the exact same formatting, right? Sometimes heading 2 is followed by a heading 3. Sometimes it's another heading 2. Sometimes it's heading 1 or body text first indent, right? That's okay. Just get it right most of the time. And most of the time, we don't want that to be normal. We just want to make it as easy as possible. Any questions, Karen, about following styles with other styles before we talk about creating new styles?
Nope, we're on a roll.
All right. So Word comes with 247 built-in styles for every new document. So if I open a new document and I come down here to the bottom of my styles pane and I click on Manage Styles, here in this list, there are going to be at least 247 styles. So your best practice, generally speaking, is what we did last month. Modify an existing style. Most of your paragraphs, use one of the body text ones. Any headings or numbered paragraphs, use the heading schemes for those. But sometimes we need a new style, right? What if we have an exhibit, right? And I need it to say, exhibit A here. And just none of the built-in ones work very well for exhibits. They work well for everything else, but that's one place I normally create a new style. The first thing that I want to do is set up some text that looks the way I want. And I want to start with something that has the normal style applied. So one way that I can get the normal style applied is by selecting the text, coming up to the home ribbon, and in the font group, clicking on my A with the eraser. That removes all formatting and takes it down to the normal style. The reason why I want to start with this formatted as normal, when I create my new style, that style based on is going to be whatever style this text has applied. And all text in Word has a style applied. There's no getting away from that. We talked about that last month, about how styles are there whether you want to use them or not. So take your text, do the clear all formatting to make sure it's normal and there's nothing else on it, and then format it with direct formatting how you normally would. So if we're going to do Exhibit A is centered and it's going to be bold and it's going to be underlined, and maybe we want 12 point of space after. So paragraph settings, right click paragraph or that launcher here in the bottom right hand corner of the paragraph group, 12 point after. That gives it a blank line after it so we don't have to hit return twice. Once I have this set up the way I want, and it's okay, we can tweak it. We can always modify it later, but easiest just to use direct formatting to get it to do what we want. We are going to click on the new style button. So down at the bottom of the styles pane, there's this A with a plus. There are always at the bottom of the styles pane 4 buttons. The 3 left are square. You want the leftmost of the square buttons. They've been tweaking the icons a lot, so yours might not look exactly the same as mine. We're going to click on Create New Style from Formatting, and it's going to give it a name, Style 1. Delete the name Style 1 and give it a name that makes sense to you. So maybe Exhibit, right? We're going to use this for all of our exhibits. Then, if I tab out of the name, it's automatically going to set up the style for the following paragraph to be Exhibit. Now, you might not want that, right? You might want to change it. You might want it to be the same. Set that up. And you'll note that the style is based on normal. If you started with heading 1 text, for example, so let me come up here and I've got some heading 1 text. Let me make that bold and underlined so you can see what would happen if I did that. And I go to that Create New Style button from the heading 1 text. It's going to be based on heading 1. So if you want to follow my rule where everything's based on normal, use that Clear All Formatting button before you set up your formatting. And then you're good to go. Just click OK. If you change your mind, you need to modify it. You're like, oh, actually, we don't want our exhibit numbering to be underlined. Not a big deal. Right click, go to modify, turn that off. But that's how you go about creating new styles. Any questions about creating new styles before we talk about controlling the styles pane, Karen?
We do have 2 questions. The first one from Jeff says, I've always had trouble getting styles to provide an index of the headings in the navigation pane. Just never found a good solution to that. Can you talk to that?
Yes, absolutely. So we're talking about the navigation pane. So if I go to the view ribbon and in the show group, I check the box for navigation pane or the keyboard shortcuts Control F for that, you will see that there's a heading section here. The reason why I recommend using the heading style, so that's, you can see over here, heading 1, 2, 3, there's 9 of them, headings 1 through 9. I am such a big fan of using them is because they magically appear over here. So the statement of facts appears over here because it's heading 1. If I reformat my exhibit A as heading 2, it shows up nested under it. There's nothing you have to do to the heading styles to make them show up over there. Now, non-heading styles, so let's reformat this as exhibit. Let's say I want my exhibit to show up over there. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to go to modify and then format paragraph. So go modify your style and then the bottom left-hand corner, format paragraph. There is this outline level. So the headings 1 through 9 are automatically levels 1 through 9. And in fact, you can't change it. You can't make a heading 1 a level 2 or body text. It won't let you change that. If I change this outline level from body text to level 1 and I click OK and OK again, Exhibit A shows up over there because the outline level from my paragraph formatting controls the headings in the navigation pane. Let me know if that doesn't answer the question sufficiently.
Yes, Jeff, jump back in if we need to further clarify. Ian asks, did you just say that the style will pick up the paragraph marker at the end of the text? And if so, how is that used?
I'm not sure I understand the question, but I can talk about the paragraph marks and
Oh, great.
how those work a little bit.
Great.
So the paragraph marks, it's important to understand they signify the end of a paragraph, which It seems pretty obvious, right? But understanding that they contain all of the paragraph formatting on the paragraph marks. So if we think about, there's three levels of formatting. There's font or character formatting, paragraph formatting, and then there's section formatting, which is a whole other thing separate from styles that we already had some great sessions on that I think we still have recordings of if you're curious about those. What happens is if I select a single character, I can apply whatever formatting I want to it, and that sticks to that character. In Word, we can only apply paragraph settings to an entire paragraph. We can't switch from left aligned to centered in the middle of a paragraph. I know other word processors can do that. Word cannot. All of the paragraph settings are contained in that paragraph mark. It's just not obvious. So when we do things like delete paragraph marks, it affects the paragraph formatting, but not the font formatting. And so we have a few different types of styles. If I go into create a new style, you'll see there's style types. There's paragraph, which contains, oddly enough, not just paragraph settings, but also font ones. It combines them. Character ones. I don't recommend using these. That's for marking text as bold. You'll find a lot of resources on the internet that says every single formatting change to your document needs its own style. I don't subscribe to that at all because what happens is you end up with 50 styles in your styles pane and it becomes a pain to navigate through it. If you need to make a word bold in the middle of your document, you need this to be bold, just make it bold. Click the bold button, Control B. It's fine. You don't need a style for that. Character styles are designed for that. They have a time and a place when it comes to some of the automation tools that are out there. They require those to work, but for the average person in Word, you don't need those. And let me go back to my new where I can change it. And then we have table styles, which are used to control formatting in tables that we're not going to talk about today. And then list and linked styles, which we are going to be talking about on June 8th. We're not going to get into those today. So hopefully that answered the question about paragraph marks and styles. If not, let me know.
Can you include a paragraph after as part of the style?
You can include space after a paragraph. So if you want a blank spacing at the end of the paragraph, you can include that, which is paragraph formatting. So if I come into my paragraph formatting, that would be spacing after right here. If you want a different paragraph, you're still going to have to hit the return key. And that's where that style for the following paragraph comes into play to how that's formatted, if that makes sense.
It does. Thank you. And so let me roll back up here. Why is it best to modify an existing style in most cases?
Well, for one, those heading styles, they're automatically set up with those outline styles. It's one less thing you have to change. And honestly, I've worked with a lot of people who like to rename their styles, and the amount of time they spend coming up with the name for a style is just really inefficient. They're like, oh, what should I call this one? So I prefer to go with the body text styles and the heading styles. I don't have to think about it. I've got enough going on. You guys do too, where the less you have to think about, the better. And because there's always going to be 247 in there, we cannot delete them. It just makes the list of styles a lot longer. And 247 styles is already a really long list to go through. So
It
when I go
sure
into my
is.
manage styles, there's plenty to scroll through here. So if we're adding a ton of our own styles, it adds more to the already overwhelming list.
It
But
sounds
you
like
can
it.
create all your own styles if you want to. It's not like anything's wrong with that. I just find it less efficient.
Gotcha. And let's see, can styles hold a bookmark? So the styles automatically bookmarks the exhibit, and then Cheryl could hyperlink to it.
They cannot automatically include a bookmark because every bookmark has to have a unique name. You can't have two bookmarks with the same name. But if you're looking to cross-reference them, if you've got them numbered, so exhibits we frequently number, which we'll get into in the next one, you could do a cross-reference to a numbered item instead of a bookmark if you want. There's pros and cons to all of that we don't have time to get into today, but it can't automatically include a bookmark now.
Okay, and one more, and then let's move on. This is from Stephen. How do you decide on what style type to use for your new style?
For your new style, generally speaking, you want to use a paragraph style. Come back in June 8th to learn about list styles. But otherwise, a paragraph style, because it includes both font and paragraph formatting, it's just not obvious that it does in the name paragraph style.
Gotcha. Great. Thank you.
All right, let's talk about controlling which styles appear in the styles pane. For those of you who have a few extra minutes, if you guys have to go, I know we scheduled it for only half an hour. We will have the recording out to you so you can catch the last few minutes here. So the styles pane, we want to control what appears here, the styles that we actually use. We want to come down to the manage styles button. So those 3 square buttons down at the bottom of the styles pane, we want the rightmost of those. So it's to the left of options. Mine's an A with a check mark. Click on that, and we want to go to the recommend tab. Sort order, alphabetical. All right, this is going to help us find styles. Then we're going to select all of the styles, and you can't use Control A. You have to click on the select all button. So manage styles, recommend, sorted alphabetical, select them all. Then we're going to assign a value, and we're going to assign the value 1 to them all. That is not required for controlling what shows up in the styles pane, but some places in Word doesn't sort styles in alphabetical order. They put them in this recommend order, and if you want them in alphabetical order, assigning them all a value of 1 is the key to that, which is going to make your life much easier. I promise. Whenever I forget to do it, I'm like, oh, where are all these styles that I know are built in that can't be deleted? I can't find them. Oh, well, it's sorting them in recommended order, and who knows what Word decided to recommend them as. So assign them all to 1 so that you can just work with alphabetical order. And then while they're all still selected, if they're unselected, just click select all again. We're going to come down here and we're going to click on the hide button. That's going to remove them all from the styles pane. I'm going to click OK so you can see what that did, and then we'll go back and fix it. Click OK, they're all gone. The reason why I do that, normally there are way too many styles in the styles pane, and it is faster to hide them all and then tell Word what to show as opposed to trying to like hunt and peck through this list. Be like, oh, wait, here's one that's showing that I don't want it to show. I just hide them all and I scroll through and look for the ones to show. And because I work almost exclusively with body text and heading styles, they're all grouped together and they're easy to find in the list. So if I want to show body text first indent, I then click on show. And then we were using black text in this. Click on it, click on show. Scroll down to the heading styles. Show whichever heading styles I need. I probably want to show my normal. My normal wasn't showing. I want to know what my defaults are and modify them easily. Come down to normal, click show, click OK, and that brings back the ones that I want. The other thing that you need to do, because it might not be this neat and tidy, even after you go through all of that, come down to the bottom of the styles pane and click on options. Because what happens here, sometimes the styles to show is not recommended. Maybe it's something like all styles, and that had 0 effect on it. And now I've got an overwhelming list of styles here. So we want this, options recommended. How the list is sorted, I like alphabetical, but hey, if I send them all to 1, that won't affect it. And then we want to make sure that these are all unchecked. If I check them, I want you to see what that does. So I click OK. Look, I've got some text that's a body text first indent, but it happens to be 8 points. Some's bold, some italic. It's overwhelming, right? We want a short, simple list. We want to make our lives easier. So in our options, styles to show recommended, how it's sorted alphabetical, uncheck everything else, click OK, and then you've got a nice, tidy little styles pane that's exactly what you told it to be. You end up needing a new style, you realize that you don't have everything you need here, simply go back to manage the styles pane and find it and show it. We can change it at any time. It's not set in stone once we set that up. Any questions about controlling which styles appear in the styles pane?
Nope. Ian did have a really interesting suggestion. Oh, wait, I just had one come up. But Ian's suggestion is he uses naming in the naming of styles. He uses the type of document as the first word in the style. So letter, body text, pleading header, that kind of thing. And then they usually need less than 10 per document type, which makes it easy to import. And then when he needs to write a letter, then you can just grab all the letter styles, which I thought was a really great idea.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea. So that would work really well if you wanted to put them in your normal template so that whenever you draft a new document, when you go to file new, those are all based on a normal template. You could have all of your styles available there. I'm still a huge fan of having templates for each type of document. So I would set up the styles that are used in letters in a letter template there. It's certainly nothing wrong with calling them letter and working that way if that works better for you. But I like to work with templates that have boilerplate text in them. They've already got stuff set up for addresses and letterhead and things like that. So that's my preferred way of working. But that's a fantastic way of working for someone who wants multiple types of styles all in the same document readily accessible.
Great. There was only really one other question, and that has to do with whether when you change your list of styles and things like that, and it's set as a template, will other people be able to see that when they open the template?
Yes. So the styles and what shows up in the styles pane live in the document, whether it's a regular Word document or a template, and they travel with the document. They don't bleed out into other documents unless you're basing a new document on the template or doing a save as. So that is a fantastic way to set other people up for success.
Great.
Any other
Thank you.
questions?
Nope, that'll do it.
All right, fantastic. Well, that's everything we planned on covering today. I would love to know if everyone learned something that will make their job easier. Hopefully, your job will be a whole lot easier after this. Fantastic. Got a good lot of good responses coming there. Really appreciate all of your guys' responses in these polls here. It helps us make sure that we are giving you good content. All right, fantastic. I do want to let you guys know about a couple of upcoming sessions on May 26th. For those of you who have net documents, our team there is going to be talking about reporting in net documents. And for those of you who want to learn about styles and automatic paragraph numbering, on June 8th at 1 p.m., we're going to be diving into all of that and those list styles and how all of that works. So I hope to see you all there. If you can't make it, register for it anyway, so you get a link to the recording. Thank you guys so much for attending today. If you guys want to check out Affinity Insight Plus, which includes a lot more training like this almost weekly, we have one or more sessions. Check out our AI Plus free trial. You get 7 days free to try it. Thank you guys all so much for attending today, and I hope to see you in June.